Chapter 638. I love Spade Z's handsomeness when he fights alone. Why is he fighting a team battle this time? This seems to be the first time Spade Z is fighting a team battle. I'm a little excited. I believe all the fans here are feeling the same way. Let's wait and see. The shoutcaster finished speaking. The other shoutcaster agreed. Let's wait and see. The sharp contrast between the shoutcasters added a lot of fun to the competition. The opposing team was also a respectable opponent. The two sides started fighting. First it was a 1v1. Yunhu was alone. His playing style was like his character, steady and full of knives. In the end, he won the first round with 1 kill against 3. 2v2. Feng Shang and Yin Wuyao's team. This was a combination no one had expected. After all, Feng Shang was still a newbie. But Bo Jiu didn't think so. This was the initial phase, a good chance to train the newbies. Both Feng Shang and Shui Yaoyao had to adapt to the rhythm of the National League as soon as possible. This way, they wouldn't have to cram at the last minute. Feng Shang indeed didn't have much experience in the professional league. But no matter what, he was a famous RMB player in Zone C of Hero. Perhaps many people didn't think that there was anything to be afraid of when he joined the professional league halfway through. But they forgot something. Feng Shang's gaming time and experience wasn't any less than anyone else. The opposing team probably thought that Feng Shang was the easiest target to attack and wanted to ambush him from the bushes. Unexpectedly, Feng Shang's gaming instincts told him that there was an 80% chance that there was someone there. He first used a big move into the bushes and then retreated swiftly. Both of them drank half a bottle of HP at the same time. Yin Wuyao was playing as an assassin. He was originally in the vicinity, and now that the opportunity had come, he sneaked in and attacked. He locked onto one of them. When Feng Shang saw Yin Wuyao, he moved back to his original position. The two of them instantly formed a team on the left and right. The next second, a sound effect was heard. Ka! They won. This was undoubtedly a reversal of the situation. They thought they would lose. In the end, the opponent neglected the number of deaths and died for the third time. With only one person left, there was no way they could resist Yin Wuyao and Feng Shang. Finally, team battle. 5v5. Someone shook his head. Even though Supreme Alliance won both matches and the team battle isn't important anymore, I still want to say that just from this 5v5 match, the chances of Supreme Alliance winning aren't high. Why? Almighty Qin's absence is a fatal blow to Supreme Alliance's lineup. You have to know that the most important thing in a 5v5 is the team's compatibility. In other words, a team has to have assassins, sorcerers, support, and tanks. Anyone who has seen Spade Z's results would know that he is an assassin. Lin Feng is also an assassin. With 2 assassins in a team, without a sorcerer, the chances of winning aren't high. You have to understand that this is the National League, not like the wild games where you can casually take a kill. The opponents are strong too, so this is destined to be a losing battle. If Almighty Qin is here, there won't be a problem because Almighty Qin is an all-rounder. He can handle whatever the team lacks. The man didn't finish his words. A notification sound rang out from the big screen above. Spade Z, Sorcerer. Chapter 639. Did Spade Z practice as a sorcerer while he was preparing for the match? Even if he did, it hasn't even been 5 days. He's at a disadvantage playing a character he's not familiar with. Regardless, let's watch. The sound of discussion from the audience was not soft. It was a 5v5 team battle. Bo Jiu sat in the middle, dressed in her uniform with a white cat on her knees. Shui Yaoyao and Lin Feng sat on her left and right. Coco was there as well, playing the support role. But for some reason, such a lineup still made people feel a little worried. When the match starts, regardless of how many players there are in the middle lane, I'll be alone. Bo Jiu instructed in a low voice. Yaoyao, you'll play as the archer and take the bottom lane. The rest of you, go to the top lane. Lin Feng, you'll fight in the jungle at the bottom lane. Don't worry about anything else. Just pay attention to the bushes. Now, put on your headphones and switch on the mic. After Bo Jiu finished speaking, everyone put on their headphones, their eyes glued to the screen. Every side profile was filled with a different kind of youth. Such a cool scene was very suitable to be displayed on the big screen. Black combat uniform, delicate and pretty eyebrows. Everyone's posture when choosing their skills was very uniform, and they all pressed the enter key with a crisp sound. Swoosh. The special effect sounded, officially entering the game. The fans outside the arena tightened their grip on the cola bottles in their hands. It's really nerve-wracking, isn't it, fangirls? Come, let's talk about some technical issues. If they split into 3 lanes, the sorcerer would usually take the middle lane. But Spade Z is used to killing and might not be able to adapt to the sorcerer role. This will be the crux of the match. The archer on the bottom lane is important too. If they aren't strong in the early stages, they won't be able to keep up in the later stages. There are indeed many loopholes in Supreme Alliance. Why do you say that? Loopholes? The archer is a newbie. It should be easy to attack her. If I was their team, I would arrange for 2 to take the middle lane, 2 to take the bottom lane and the other to defend the top lane. Regardless of whether they hit Shui Yao Yao or Spade Z, they would be able to take the first kill and complete the first kill. F***CK. It's really as you said, they are going to take the middle lane and bottom lane in pairs. This is going to be interesting. In the game, Coco hesitated when he saw someone taking the middle lane. Bo Jio's voice came through the earpiece. Continue attacking. Coco was obedient, but he was worried that Bo Jio wouldn't be able to hold on. This was indeed the standard of the National League. I know mages don't have much health. The other side sent an assassin and a tank to charge straight at the middle lane. This is a good chance. Hide in the bushes. I'll use a big move to trap Spade Z while you use your big move to kill him. This strategy was most effective against mages. In a team battle, a tank's ultimate skill could directly interrupt a mage's ultimate skill. Moreover, mages had low HP, so if a tank managed to crouch down, they would definitely lose half their HP. In addition, the assassin's ultimate skill, 1 second, could directly reduce the mage's HP to critical. If the mage were to counterattack, it would definitely be enough to kill. On the other side, the vice leader played as a tank and was very particular about his positioning. He stood in the middle lane, silently waiting for his big move to attract Spade Z's attention. Chapter 640. On the big screen, everyone could see the scene clearly. Unlike the players in the game, they could only see the status of their own team. Hence, when she controlled the ice blade to move forward, every Spade Z fan's heart skipped a beat. Even the shoutcaster's expression changed. Everyone knew that Spade Z was definitely going to die this time. But at this moment, Bo Jio paused, releasing a freezing skill towards her lower right side. Then she walked back to the defense tower. This series of actions was unexpected. Why is Spade Z releasing skills so randomly? Can he really play like that? His opponent is in front and he's attacking towards the right. Has he not mastered the skill? Han Susu hadn't been chased out since she hadn't caused any trouble, which meant that she was still in the audience. But due to the incident just now, it wasn't suitable for her to stay among the Spade fans. In order to avoid being discovered, she shifted to the left side, blending into Coco's team since they were closer. Coco's fans were younger and didn't know much about the game. A small portion of them liked Coco because he was cute and adorable. That was why she said those words. Han Susu's eyes shifted. I like the entire Supreme Alliance team and their playing style, but Spade Z's way of doing things is problematic. He clearly can't do it himself, but he still wants to take the middle lane alone. His unique style is really unbearable. What if the team loses because of him? Sigh, how should I put it? He can still play solo, but as the vice-captain, he might harm Supreme Alliance. For the sake of Supreme Alliance, I won't say much. Coco's fans were more composed and didn't join Han Susu in mocking him. But from the looks of it, Han Susu knew that if he didn't join her in mocking now, he might not be able to keep his composure in the future. His expression revealed that this small mine was buried and would definitely explode in the future. It was a pity that her calculations were wrong. Coco was a professional player after all. How could his fans be noobs? One of the girls swept her a glance. You're a Spade fan, aren't you? Why did he come to our side? Also, sis, let me give you a reminder. Do you know why Spade Z shot an arrow into the bushes? It was to guard against an ambush. This is basic knowledge. How can you watch the game if you don't understand? He really didn't understand. How could someone treat their idol like this? Why do you look like an anti-fan? Han Susu's face darkened. She was thinking about how to smooth things over. But the girl wasn't a fan of Spade Z. She didn't pay much attention to Han Susu and focused on the competition. In fact, every normal person was watching the competition. Only an abnormal person would pay attention to other things and attempt to create some contradictions. After all, Han Susu's family was in the business world. She knew how to communicate with people and what kind of people to target. There were some people that she couldn't incite. However, there were some people who could use money or emotions to make others lose their judgment and attack others. This was the subtlety of how to conduct oneself. On the screen, Spade Z was almost in danger more than once. During the third round, Wuxia had lost half of her HP. This was the most heart-wrenching part of Spade's fans. Chapter 641. However, there was one thing that not only the fans but also the opposing team members had overlooked. On the other hand, the feminine commentator's eyes lit up. I understand. Understand what? The audience didn't have time to listen to the following explanation. On the screen, Spade Z waved his arm, forming a huge silver rain formation around him. That person was standing in the middle of the rain formation. The two big moves of the opposing team were gone, all in the middle of the rain formation. To Spade Z, the rain was just rain. But to the opponent, it was a blade. Let's go. The opposing vice-captain was on the verge of death. He thought that he could at least let the assassin leave first. But how could the youngster let them go? Lin Feng. It was a low voice that could be heard by the audience through the earphones. Here, come on, little Spade. Let's fight our revolutionary cooperation. That's right. It was cooperation. Lin Feng, who had finished clearing the jungles, was already near the middle lane. He took the opportunity to flank up. So what if he crossed the tower? He could just jump back after killing the opponent with low HP. Instantly. Only 2 words appeared on the screen. K.O. First kill. A first kill that no one had expected. The audience's uproar almost lifted the roof of the venue. Someone was swinging his baton, making loud banging noises. But it wasn't over yet. Until the second sound was heard. Double kill. Beautiful. The shoutcaster couldn't help but slap the table. Quick. 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 Let's take a look at the replay. The other shoutcaster was still brooding. What did you mean when you said you understood? Why did Spade Z choose to be a solo mid? Other than the fact that he needs to develop quickly, he can also hold back the opponent's main tank and main attacker. He can also buy time for Lin Feng to gain experience. Once the opponent's tank's big move is exhausted, he can form a rain spell. And it's obvious that he didn't do it randomly. It's because Lin Feng is nearby, so he can kill him in time. You mean? The other shoutcaster didn't even dare to think about that guess. The feminine shoutcaster covered his face, extremely bashful. This isn't his idea, it's my Big Spade's. It's fine if he doesn't make a move, but once he makes a move, he has to make a double kill. After hearing the shoutcaster's words, in an instant, the viewership of the live stream reached its peak. That was not all. The two of them had even taken down the defense tower in the middle lane. They were so fast that they could feel the blood flowing in their veins heating up. This was undoubtedly a feast for the eyes. Coco's fans gave Han Susu a look, letting her experience it for herself. Han Susu's heart was ablaze. Her purpose in coming here was to embarrass that person. On one hand, she didn't expect Spade fans to be so protective of that person. On the other hand, he had been splashed. How could he win? The scene from earlier appeared on the big screen again. The camera pulled back, and the young man's calm face was reflected on it. He was handsome, fair, and a little too handsome. Fengyi looked at this scene. In reality, no one knew where the youth had grown. Endure silently for the sake of the team. We aren't kind enough, we don't know how to deal with people, and we even have a fatal flaw in our character, but we can grow into what the important person needs. Chapter 642. Sorcerer players knew that as long as the foundation was good, the formation would be stronger in the later stages. Hero was a popular game because it was popular. It was also because it was a game that required you to understand a lot in order to play well. Teamwork was crucial. After taking down a defense tower, Bo Jiao and Lin Feng didn't rush forward. Instead, they crossed the wilderness and headed towards the bottom lane. It was too late for the enemy to retreat. Shui Yaoyao used a big stun move. Lin Feng went for the kill. Bo Jiao used another freeze. Shui Yaoyao took the chance to kill. KO. Handsome. Indeed handsome. Once the battle started, the rhythm of the battle quickened. The opposing attacker and tank revived and headed towards the bottom lane. Along with the archer in the wilderness, the three of them encircled Supreme Alliance from the left and right to destroy Supreme Alliance. Since Spade Z was left with half his HP, this time, they wouldn't waste their big move. They had to break Spade Z's rain spell. Bo Jiao didn't intend to fight them at all. She released a freeze skill and ran into the bushes, avoiding the assassin and returning to the tower. Shui Yaoyao and Lin Feng would definitely lose HP, but it didn't matter because Bo Jiao was at the bottom of the tower. Since Bo Jiao was below the tower, with one healed, the other two would be back to full health. D***. We didn't catch him. Spade Z doesn't seem like a newbie when playing sorcerer. The opposing captain's voice deepened. From now on, we can't be careless. The information we received was wrong. Since we can't catch him, we'll go to the top lane to catch someone else. Lu, stay invisible and go to the top lane. All right. The assassin named Lu was fast. No one could see his shadow as he advanced. The revived player guarded the middle lane. The other two were at the bottom lane. The other player was fighting with Coco on the top lane. The moment Bo Jiao saw that the assassin was gone, her gaze sharpened. Coco, retreat. But it was too late. Usually, the assassin's big move was the big move when he was close to you. Coco's HP wasn't full, and with that attack, his HP fell to a critical level. Ah, no. The fans couldn't help but scream. But even so, it couldn't change the ending. With a loud thud, Coco fell heavily to the ground. The other Supreme Alliance teammate wanted to turn back. However, there was still a mage in front of him. With such a powerful spell, he could only dodge and run. Some younger fans couldn't accept Coco's death. How could this be? How did my Coco die just like that? In the beginning, the regret that came from liking him was nothing. Han Susu seized the opportunity and sighed. Isn't it because the main damage output of the team is protecting Spade Z at the bottom lane? Sigh, this kind of competition is really disappointing. This sentence successfully made some of Coco's fans hate Spade Z. Why didn't you save my Coco? What's the meaning of using all the attack power to protect Spade Z? Are you just going to watch your teammate die? At the same time, doubts were raised. Coco switched on his mic. I'm sorry, Vice Captain. I was careless. You told me to pay attention to the assassin and told me to retreat. I was too late. Chapter 643. After all, it wasn't a problem between teammates. How could he not die in a game? Unless he was as perverted as Almighty Qin. Coco didn't think much of it. After reviving, he set off in high spirits. However, Han Susu didn't give up, adding, "How cold." Coco apologized to him, but why did he say that? He seems rather nice to Shui Yaoyao. The new member is protecting the new member. The fans started to resent Coco's death. A fat woman isn't as important as our Coco. I don't know what Spade Z is thinking. Maybe there's something going on between them. Heh, Spade Z better correct his attitude. Otherwise, we won't do it if we lose the competition. Some fans were curious. Their idol had already explained the situation clearly. Why would he continue to listen to others' instigation and misinterpret their meaning? Every commander in a game knew that on the battlefield, it was important to be concise and have more plans. In reality, the more they played, the more Bo Jiao understood the burden the Almighty had as a captain. She only played in the wilderness and rarely cooperated with anyone. When playing in the wilderness, she just had to think of her own strategy. There wasn't a need to think so much. Even when she had commanded before, she had used attacking characters. This team control was a true test of the team's cohesiveness. Especially when everyone was in the team. Tank, go forward, Yaoyao and Coco, run a little, one behind me, the other on the left to watch the ambush. Lin Feng, once we start, go invisible and attack the sorcerer at the back. All right. During a team battle, it was important to attack first and then attack. Killing the back was a common practice for assassins, but it depended on technique as well. But this was the camp that stood out. Coco's fans only looked at the surface. What I want to say is it interesting to have everyone surround him. Han Susu added immediately, he's just a vice captain. If he's so capable, he can fight at the front. What's the point of being stuck in the middle? Is Spade Z afraid of death? He wants his teammates to charge forward. This was a skillful way of saying it because if one Supreme Alliance member died, Han Susu could say that he died in Spade Z's place. The team members wearing headphones couldn't hear a single word of what was said on the field. On the screen, the young man's gaze was calm and composed. His hands were already in position on the keyboard. With a single fight, he crouched down on the opponent's archer. With Coco's support, the opponent lost half of his HP and was stunned on the spot. Of course, in a team battle, they wouldn't die so easily. The enemy was definitely going to counterattack. However, the opponent's tank realized that he was in trouble after crouching down with a big move. It was indeed terrible. Because at this moment, Spade Z took a step forward and froze the shooter. At the same time the rain came. There were a total of 3 people in the formation, an archer, a support, and a tank. This pitter-patter rain could cause everyone in the center of the magic circle to lose HP and slow down. Sadly, the enemy didn't have any more big moves to break her formation. The tank had used his big move, and the archer couldn't use it in time. Only the opponent's sorcerer could interrupt Spade Z's big move. The sorcerer used his big move, sweeping across like a fireball. It was a pity Supreme Alliance still had a tank. He moved forward firmly, buying time for his teammates and allowing Lin Feng to appear and kill them. The opponent's sorcerer lost half his HP. Moreover, a sorcerer without his big move was most afraid of an assassin's close combat. Chapter 644. Team Wipe. When these 2 words appeared, the live audience was practically boiling with excitement. Without any obstacles, Supreme Alliance was like a whirlwind of offense. Everyone was in the middle lane. It was easy for 5 people to destroy the defense tower, even though Supreme Alliance's tank was almost out of HP. But don't forget, Bo Jiu had healing abilities. The effect of heal was to restore the HP of the player and the party members around them. All 5 of them were healing at the same time, and it would take time for the other party to resurrect. This amount of time was enough for Supreme Alliance to take down the opponent's city. When the pieces of the city fell, the sky was filled with silver sparks, showing Supreme Alliance's absolute victory. Bo Jiu was the first to remove her earpiece, her silver hair fluttering. It was such a cool action that was captured by the camera. Another burst of uncontrollable screams rang out. Even the shoutcaster was excited. Replay. Field control. Please give me a replay. It was a beautiful team battle, wasn't it? Yes, the sorcerer's calculations are good. I never expected Spade Z to be so good as a sorcerer. With a rain spell, the opponent couldn't retaliate at all. So you think Spade Z is the MVP of this match? Definitely. There's no doubt that such an outstanding team control player will be the MVP. This is the first time I agree with your point of view. Alright, friends in the audience, the replay is here. Let's watch the most exciting scene in slow motion. It was common knowledge in team battles to use the tank to attack the front and the assassin to kill the back. However, when everyone looked again, they would notice Spade Z's movement. He moved slightly to the left, stopped the freeze, and then released his rain spell. This move was the key to winning the team battle, and it had to be said that his control was beautiful. This kind of playstyle is enough for him to compete with those who play sorcerer all year round. Spade Z is definitely worthy of being the vice-captain of Supreme Alliance. There was nothing more convincing and exciting than a post-match analysis. When the youngster took off his headphones, Lin Feng pounced forward, wrapping his arms around her neck. He rammed his fist into her silver hair. You're good, you're handsome. Especially when you cooperate with me, you're even more handsome. Coco also pressed forward with the brightest smile on his face. Vice-captain, we won. It wasn't just the players in the arena. Even Yun Hu and Yin Wuyao joined in. The youngster was at the bottom, her forehead pressed against the computer, one hand protecting the cat. Hey, that's enough, my hairstyle. Don't worry, Your Highness Zhou, you're still handsome. Shui Yaoyao smiled. Even though they weren't there, the audience could feel the different feelings between Supreme Alliance and the Alliance. Coco's fans, who were originally dissatisfied, couldn't say anything after seeing this scene. Since their Coco liked Spade Z so much, it wouldn't be good for them to say anything. It was a scene of jubilation. This was not what Han Susu wanted to see. She stood there with her hands clenched and her eyes darkened. Chapter 645. That tone and the surrounding gazes caused Han Susu, who had never been mocked before, to turn red and green. After all, it was a slap to her face. Han Susu couldn't take it anymore, grabbing her bag and fleeing the scene. The cheers of victory continued. The MVP of the competition, the youngster, carried a white cat, his handsome side profile perfectly captured on the screen. There was a cracking sound. Through the computer. Wu Zhen threw the mouse in her hand, her eyes cold to the extreme. It wasn't because of Supreme Alliance's victory. It was because of the cat in the youngster's arms. Wu Zhen had never expected to see Princess here. Others might not know who the white cat belonged to, but Wu Zhen was clear. That person had never allowed anyone near his cat, not even she had hugged Princess. But now, Princess was in the hands of that useless young Master Fu. Wu Zhen clenched her fists tighter and tighter, her expression darkening, until there was a knock on the door. Wu Zhen switched off the screen, standing up. She was still at work, wearing her uniform. Director Huang came, holding some documents in his hands. Li Mengran is implicated in the forum. It's dangerous. We have to investigate the culprit as soon as possible. Li Mengran is the only one who has direct contact with the forum. Go ask her about the tone of the replies and if there were any leaks. Write it down and pass it to me. In the past, before Wu Zhen was transferred over, Director Huang would always address her as Miss Wu. But it was different now. Wu Zhen was a member of the crime squad. Her work couldn't be sloppy. But it was obvious that Wu Zhen wasn't interested in such cases. She took the documents, asking, "Aren't you going to investigate Z's case? Brother M.O., where did he go? Did he go to investigate? If he can't handle it, I can help him. Don't bother about what he does. Just do your job well." Director Huang was like a weasel, keeping his mouth shut. He wouldn't divulge anything if he could. Wu Zhen felt a wave of annoyance when she heard his words. Wasn't he able to return to the crime squad because of her persuasion? But now this Director Huang. Wait a minute, Li Mengran, wasn't she the one who said she was gay? Okay, I'll drive over now and ask all the questions I need to ask. Wu Zhen laughed, but her gaze was sinister. 3:00 in the afternoon. Li Mengran, who was resting at home, had just finished watching the youngster's live stream. If one thing can change a family, he had indeed done it. Mother Li's views were different from before. In the past, as long as Li Mengran wasn't doing her exercises, she would frown, regardless of the time. As long as he had some free time, he would let Li Mengran attend classes. Now, she didn't care what the child did. However, there was one thing that Mother Li noticed, and that was that her daughter seemed to really like that young man. Every time before she did the exercises, her daughter would look at her phone. The people on the school's intranet had posted another photo of the young man. After reading it, his daughter continued to write questions with a smile on her face. Mother Li had also expressed that as long as she found a partner, she would agree. Chapter 646. In that instant, Mother Li's heart ached. Our Mengran is great too. I know, but it's not the type His Highness Zhou likes. Li Mengran smiled faintly. I'll continue to like him, silently, not burdening him. If I'm outstanding enough in the future, I'll confess to him. Whether he accepts or rejects me, I'll be happy. Mom, do you know, as long as you like him, you'll be happy. How could Mother Li not know that? She had witnessed the changes in her daughter. Such a daughter really made her feel proud as a mother. At the same time, she reflected on herself. The best way to be a parent was to grow up with their child. Hence, when Wu Zhen, who was dressed in a police uniform, came knocking on their door, they were somewhat surprised. Wu Zhen still had a smile on her face, her words appropriate. Auntie, Don't worry, it's just Mengran. I'm here to understand the situation and make a statement. The police won't reveal Mengran's identity. In reality, Mother Li was no longer the same as before. As long as she could protect her daughter, she didn't care if others found out. Since she was from the police, she naturally wouldn't reject her. Wu Zhan was smart. She didn't start off with official business. Instead, she moved on to other topics such as Mengran's current situation, her mood and studies. Anyone would be willing to listen to such words. After setting the foundation, Wu Zhan revealed her true motive. Mengran, are you willing to talk about your boyfriend? His Highness Jiu. Li Mengran hadn't expected her to ask about the youngster. Her first reaction was, that has nothing to do with him. Wu Zhan arched a brow. What is it? Li Mengran shook her head. Nothing. Wu Zhan was a police officer. She could immediately tell that Li Mengran was trying to hide something. She placed her pen down. Mengran, you should understand that it's better to make things clear so that we can solve the problem. Actually, there's something I've always wanted to ask. Since he's your boyfriend, why are you calling him His Highness Jiu? That doesn't seem normal. Li Mengran remained silent. Wu Zhan continued. Also, he seemed to have known about you in advance. As your boyfriend, didn't he take any precautions? When we caught the teacher, he kept mumbling that it must be the little brat who harmed him and that he should have paid more attention. Who was the little brat referring to? Your boyfriend? This matter really has nothing to do with Highness Jiu. Li Mengran panicked. Don't make things difficult for His Highness Jiu. Back then, His Highness Jiu only became my boyfriend because he thought that at least those beasts would have some reservations. Wu Zhan looked at Li Mengran, her eyes narrowing. Is that true? It really is. Li Mengran shifted her gaze to the left. In order to catch up to that person, Wu Zhan had specially learned how to use micro-expressions during interrogations. Li Mengran was obviously hiding something. Because her gaze to the upper left had already betrayed her. However, Wu Zhen knew that it was useless to continue asking. It was obvious that Li Mengran was very protective of the gay. It was better not to ask anymore, lest this person figured out her intentions. But there was one thing that Wu Zhan was almost certain of. Chapter 647. Moreover, it was related to this incident. After asking about the forum, Wu Zhen's mind wasn't on it. Once she was out of the Li family's house, she called Han Susu. The moment Han Susu picked up the call, she started complaining to Wu Zhen. Why are there so many people protecting such a gay? I feel disgusted just looking at him. I don't like him either. Wu Zhen lowered her voice. But don't worry, he'll be out of luck soon. Han Susu's eyes lit up. Sister Wu, did you think of a good idea? It's related to my work. It's not convenient for me to tell you now. Are there any problems on your side? Wu Zhen asked as she opened the car door. Han Susu chuckled lightly. What problems can there be? Some of his Spade Z fans still like me since I supported him from the start. He doesn't know how to be grateful. He'll regret it one day. Some people are indeed destroyed by arrogance. Wu Zhen flipped through the information in her hands. Han Susu was still furious. It's fine. We can make a fuss on the official Weibo. Anyway, the Spade Z fans I interacted with are feeling aggrieved. It's better to be careful. Don't let anyone find out, Wu Zhen instructed. Han Susu said, Don't worry, there are still my friends there. They are all on my side. In that case, I'll tell you what I have on my side. If possible, I might be able to capture the gay and keep him there for a few days. Wu Zhen smiled. Han Susu was delighted. If that's the case, that would be great. That way, everyone would be able to see what kind of person Spade Z was. But at this moment, Supreme Alliance's second match was about to begin. Bo Jiu didn't have time to think about anything else. Once again, she deployed the formation and commanded the battle calmly in the face of danger. That day, all the Spade Z fans could only see the youngster, wearing a black headset, giving out simple orders, perfect maneuvering and positioning, playing at the highest level of a sorcerer. After the second match, it was already 6 p.m. There was an interview with an esports star. Bo Jiu was the one Supreme Alliance had chosen. Without a choice, The youngster unzipped her uniform and pointed to her teammates. Wait for me to come back before we go for skewers. Unfortunately, no one listened to Jiao in this regard. Hearing that they were going to eat, Supreme Alliance revealed their true nature. They only had meat in their eyes and didn't care about their little vice-captain. Lin Feng said straightforwardly, "Don't worry, we'll wait for you at the skewers." In other words, they would definitely go first. So when the microphone was passed to the youth, the young man was still thinking about crispy chicken bones, lamb skewers, fish tofu, baked beans, and so on. In the end, when the beautiful host asked, "Who is your favorite esports player?" the youngster said decisively, "Let's eat skewers." Excuse me? Was there any team with a player named Bao Kebab in an esports competition? Not only the beautiful host, but even the cameraman was dumbfounded. Cough. Feng Yi coughed heavily. The young man, who was holding the cat in one hand, came back from his thoughts and smiled faintly. Is there a problem? You're the one with the problem now. Chapter 648. Was that a person's name? Fox Feng glanced at her. The beautiful host asked again, "Do you have any esports players you admire?" Of course. Bo Jiu smiled. Qin Mo, I admire not only his looks but also his playing style. The beautiful host laughed. Aren't you just expressing your admiration for Almighty Qin? Bo Jiu smiled but didn't reply. The beautiful host continued to ask, "Throughout the match today, everyone noticed that you played a character that you don't usually play, but it was surprisingly perfect. I think everyone is very curious about when you became a mage. After all, you've always played a more aggressive character before." The day before yesterday. The two words, youngster. The beautiful host paused. Can I trouble you to repeat? When did you train? The day before yesterday, the youngster replied, not forgetting to suppress Princess in his arms. The beautiful host was slightly dazed. You managed to train a character so well in 2 days? Ah. MMH. Bo Jiu didn't mention that she had only played for 3 hours and managed to master it after 5 rounds. The beautiful host sighed. As expected of the FC King of Zone C. I believe the fans are just like me. They will look forward to your competition in the future. That was indeed the case. It was a national competition. Almost all the girls who liked to play games were infatuated with the youngster. Their peripheral products were sold out. Some dealers even scratched their heads. I've never seen a gamer more popular than a celebrity. In one night, almost the entire Jiang city saw the interview with the youngster. In the end, the silver-haired youngster stuffed one hand into his trouser pocket, the other carelessly hugging the white cat gently. He looked handsome as he looked into the camera, making people's hearts race. But under all the glamour, there was bound to be something that others didn't know. 11 p.m. The youngster finally had a proper meal. Before he finished, he fell asleep on the dining table in the living room. The princess had jumped on the table and sniffed around, trying to claw at the stupid human who was always threatening her. But when he saw the youngster's sleeping profile, he retracted his claws and started to walk proudly. On account of the fact that you fed me delicious food, this king will forgive you. The princess stomped for a while, and when she was done, she wrapped herself up into a fluffy round ball and leaned against the side of the young man's face. A man and a cat. Just enough to keep each other warm. At this moment, on the other side of the earth, on the other side of the Pacific Ocean, the sunlight was very gentle. It passed through the white curtains and shone on that handsome and abstinent face. Qin, do you feel anything here? The doctor spoke in authentic English. He had blonde hair and blue eyes. His fingers pressed on the man's wrist, and his eyes observed the patient's reaction. A very pleasant word. No. I understand. The doctor wrote a few sentences in English on his notebook, then gave some instructions before leaving with his things. Qin Mo was the only one left in the ward. Dressed in a pure white hospital gown, he looked like he had walked out of a comic, a white devil, a typical military commander. Young master, do you want to take a look at the situation? Adjutant Zhang was standing beside him. He knew very well what the young master was concerned about. Unexpectedly, Qin Mo rejected her. No need, I can't control myself. Chapter 649. It was nighttime. Jiang City's mansion. Feng Shang watched as his brother placed his phone down, stuttering. Why was it Captain Qin? No. Feng Yi's eyes dimmed. It's not normal for someone to cause trouble in the arena today. I'll get someone to investigate. Feng Shang grunted heavily. Why you have to investigate? Bully my idol. No, don't let me know what they are called in-game. I know, I'll go and bully them every day. These people don't play games. Feng Yi glanced at his bunny brother. More and more people will like you in the future. Some might not like you because of your gaming skills, but because of your faces. Some might even like you because your existence can give them a topic to talk about. There are many such things, you have to get used to it. Feng Shang clenched his fists. And not used to it. Feng Yi laughed like a fox. That's true, you don't have to get used to it. You just have to play the game well. I'll handle the rest. He wasn't sure what his motive was. But it was obvious that there were a few people who were incited to the point where they couldn't tell right from wrong. Or perhaps, after today's incident, they vaguely understood what was going on. But they still chose to continue being used by others, and they would still feel sympathetic towards each other. They felt wronged after hurting others. There were many of such people in real life. Usually, it wouldn't change. Feng Yi didn't care about that. He just had to find the mastermind. Even as a manager, he couldn't stand to watch being splashed with coke. But after the match, the youngster said in a low voice while wearing a mask, "Don't tell Brother Mo about what happened today." Feng Yi knew very well what all this forbearance was for. For that person to focus on his hand injury, for Supreme Alliance's victory, for his teammates. If it wasn't for these most important things, the youngster would probably have dealt with it in a different way. Sometimes, when Feng Yi looked at the youngster, it was as though he was looking at the past Qin Mo. That person had walked step by step in the same manner. Doubt, ridicule, incitement, attacks, all of them had ulterior motives. It was because of these experiences that the most valuable esports player was born. Feng Yi lowered his lids, picking up another call. Yes, I want to know who brought the fan in, there should be records. These things were not easy to investigate. Because there were too many people entering the venue. It would take a lot of time and energy to find out the truth. At this moment, it was up to the true Spade fans to unite. Feng Yi decided to meet Sister Turtle. Feng Yi considered himself so handsome that he had no friends. However, when he sat down in front of the woman, he realized that the woman in front of him did not seem to have weakened in the slightest. Moreover, that face was very beautiful. For the first time, Feng Yi felt that he didn't need to speak so clearly when talking to someone. Because as soon as he said it, the other party could almost understand everything. President Feng, don't worry. We'll use the best way to protect our young man. We'll fully cooperate with the authorities. Feng Yi paused. I've prepared a lot of questions. Moreover, such a strict selection method was bound to attract some disgust. Chapter 650. Ever since that day, all the Spade fans seemed to have an indescribable tacit understanding. Cooperating with the officials, even those who weren't qualified to go to the stadium would cheer for Spade Z online. Because they believe that protection is mutual. Moreover, they did not want to see a second Coke splash incident. So when you really like a person, you will really feel sorry for what happened to him. The next day, when Bo Jiao found out about the incident, she hugged the white cat and recorded a message on her official Weibo. Come, princess, say good morning to everyone. Meow. You stupid human, if you have the guts, let me go and fight one-on-one. The young man's unique voice, coupled with the bursts of meowing, made people feel that he was full of life. Oh, my big Spade is even more handsome now. I'm going to record this and use it to wake myself up every day. It's so warm. What should I do? Am I the only one who feels like I'm about to explode from the princess's voice? Actually, I don't care about that. What I care about is why my big Spade is suddenly carrying a cat to the competition and the cat is always around. This is a good question. Qin Fan can't help but want to say something. That should be our Almighty's cat. Cover your face. My Almighty has even let little Spade take care of his cat. I'm really not thinking about it. I just want to ask, do you even have the keys to the Qin family? When she saw the last message, She glanced towards her table instinctively. There was indeed a key on it. But it wasn't from the Qin family, it was from the Almighty's place where he lived. There was a lot of cat food there. The Almighty had said that if it wasn't enough, she could feed him. I feel like I've been stuffed with another mouthful of dog food. The Gay is trying to make his presence felt again. I really don't understand why some idiots like him. Spade Z, it's time for you to face your own problems. Don't you think about why you were splashed? There were even some of your fans. Do you think a few fans aren't important? Heh. I'm here purely because I can't stand the current entry system. It's so strict. How narcissistic. Do you think anyone would want to see you? From the looks of it, the other party wasn't going to be done yet. Feng Yi was also looking at the official Weibo. He narrowed his eyes and sped up the search process. Bo Jiu was already dressed in Supreme Alliance's uniform. Honor always goes hand in hand with vilification. What we want is to be worthy of the people we need to be worthy of. For 3 whole days, Supreme Alliance was like a dark horse that charged out of a tight encirclement, killing enemies along the way and reaping great rewards. Complete victory. The 4th day. Team battle. Supreme Alliance won't win so easily this time. The shoutcaster looked at the list, giving his analysis. Another commentator asked, "What do you mean?" Chapter 651. That was indeed the case. Everyone knew that the National League would become more and more difficult as the competition progressed, because the opponents they encountered would constantly become stronger. Chan Yiguang had been using a sorcerer since the very beginning. Many people couldn't take down Galaxy because of his ace sorcerer. It was said that his positioning, skills, and control over time were extremely sensitive. Apologies. Lin Feng came down from the 2v2, his fingers clenched tightly. Galaxy was indeed strong. So strong that he couldn't keep up. I should be the one apologizing. Coco stood there, his head hanging low. If I hadn't died so quickly, I wouldn't have lost. His captain had told him a long time ago that he needed to improve. But before he could improve to a certain level, the National League had started. Coco started to seriously consider if he should do fewer live streams in the future so that he could have more time to train his hand speed. But regardless of the reason, it couldn't be used as an excuse for his poor performance. With that, Bo Jiu stood up, smiling faintly as she tugged at the black wrist guard on her right hand. She tilted her head and smiled. "It's fine, we'll help you win it back." She was referring to us. She wasn't referring to herself. The 5 of them stood in a line, giving off an indescribable sense of handsomeness when they walked onto the stage. It was an aura that wouldn't get tired of even after watching it many times. The shoutcasters were still shaking their heads, not having high hopes for the match. Spade Z's sorcerer won't be able to control Chen Yiguang. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a voice suddenly rang out. A sound effect came from the screen. Spade Z. Assassin. In that instant, the shoutcasters were confused. Wait a minute. Shouldn't Spade Z be a sorcerer? What was going on with the assassin? A commotion broke out over at Galaxy. It seemed like the situation was out of their expectations. True Spade fans found it normal. My big Spade is an assassin. It's perfect for him. The shoutcasters were in a daze. What's wrong? Just that one sentence was enough to send a shock through everyone. That's right. How could they forget that the newcomer king of Zone C was best at using assassins? Even now, the video of Spade Z using assassins to kill 5 players was still being spread like wildfire. That was why he had no intention of playing as a mage in the first place. The youngster did not look around. Instead, he gestured to his teammates and put on the headphones with his right hand. The shoutcaster only snapped out of his daze when he heard the sound of entering the game. Anyone who used the assassin class would know that they should first kill monsters to level up, then kill people. Furthermore, using an assassin to kill someone required a certain level of skill. Chen Yiguang knew Spade Z wasn't easy to deal with. He controlled the character with his fingers, his voice low. Be careful of Spade Z's ambush. Don't worry, Captain. We'll only defend and not attack. We'll wait for you to take control later. However, that was what he said, but when it came to the real fight, you can't just defend and not attack. One of the members of the space troopers defended the tower very well. He was facing two enemies at once, but neither of them attacked him. His HP was running low, so he wanted to return to the city while he was safe under the tower. But that person forgot one thing. Chapter 652. On the screen, everyone could clearly see the youngster's beautiful finger technique. It was so fast that they couldn't even see it clearly. The assassin with the name Spade Z had already rushed under the opponent's tower. With a big move, he killed someone and then jumped over the wall. The music started playing. A perfect tower kill. A stunning first kill. Instantly, the crowd was in an uproar. The player who had returned to the city hadn't expected Spade Z to suddenly appear. How insane was his hand speed to reach such a level? But that wasn't the end. The figure didn't return to the city. Instead, after jumping out, he went straight for the assassin in the jungle. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Along with the exciting music, two huge words appeared on the screen. Double kill. Amazing! When the commentator said these two words, he slammed the table. His excitement was no less than that of the live audience. Everyone was requesting for the replay to be slowed down. Because when Spade Z killed the first player, his speed was too fast. Even the full-view audience couldn't figure out when the figure had started to sweep past the jungle and head for the tower. The scene made everyone's blood boil. Spade Z playing as an assassin really makes people want to become his fan. These were the shoutcaster's words. It wasn't because of anything else but the youngster's technique and maneuvers. There wasn't a single pause when he killed someone. There was only one word that could describe it. It was awesome. At this moment, Chen Yiguang started to feel more confident. He knew clearly that they wouldn't be able to win this team battle. As soon as the match started, Spade Z had already completed the first kill. It was obvious that the opponent didn't intend to take down the tower this time, choosing to sweep the entire way. Chen Yiguang wasn't sure if it was a coincidence or the youngster's plan. If it was the latter, Spade Z was terrifying. For a sorcerer, starting a battle in the jungle was his weakness. His usual calculations had to be readjusted. There were too many bushes in the jungle. It was easy to control one person, but difficult to control many. Chen Yiguang had already used his big move twice. Supreme Alliance did have casualties, but if the opponent died, they would lose 4 on their side. When he ran from the jungle to the tower, he didn't dare to lose too much HP. Because it was very likely that Spade Z would cross the tower and kill him. He had never experienced such a feeling before. The current Supreme Alliance, no, it should be Spade Z, was so strong that he couldn't handle him. Without Qin Mo, they would be able to win the match. But now, Chen Yiguang realized something. After Qin Mo left, Spade Z came. The youngster with the title of Rookie King wasn't any worse than Qin Mo. Just thinking about it. Chen Yiguang's fingers were trembling. Without Qin Mo around, Supreme Alliance was already so powerful. If Qin Mo came back, how strong would Supreme Alliance be? With such a question, StarCraft lost the match. Just as the shoutcaster had said, Spade Qin's plan wasn't to attack the city, but to kill everyone. Supreme Alliance won. She won so much that everyone wanted to shout, "Beautiful!" On the other hand, the atmosphere in the Interstellar Alliance was a little gloomy. In order to prepare for the National League, every team had exhausted all of their efforts. No one wanted to lose. Everyone hoped that they could fight one more round. Even if it was just one more battle, it would be fine. Chapter 653. Lin Feng could understand what kind of feeling that was. Back when Supreme Alliance hadn't even made it through the regional competition, he had felt the same way. Hence, when the galactic members walked over, they removed their headphones. Some of them were tearing up. It was obvious how much they were suppressing. Chen Yiguang was the calmest among them. He reached out to Bo Jiu. "I hope I can meet you again in the coming year. By then, the galactic won't be as weak as before." "I believe you." The youngster smiled. "The galactic members are full of potential, especially Captain Chen. You are too hard to kill. If it wasn't for the revival of your teammates and the fact that I have so many people on my side, I wouldn't have been able to kill you alone. Your control is too strong." Chen Yiguang thought that he really shouldn't look at boring gossip. Spade Z was a character that all esports players had to take seriously. It had nothing to do with how unorthodox he was, because his skills were there for all to see. After the handshake, the two teams were supposed to return to their respective resting areas. But at this moment, Chen Yiguang wasn't satisfied. He paused and turned to the youngster. I have a question that I would like to know the answer to. Was it a coincidence that you started the battle in the wilderness or? Of course it was planned. Bo Jiu glanced over, her side profile ravishing. The battle in the wilderness weakens the sorcerer's control to a certain extent, making it easier for the assassin to move. Captain Chen is such a strong opponent, it's only natural that we try our best to restrain him. With that, Chen Yiguang's remaining indignation vanished. Because this young man was truly too strong. He was so strong that even if he lost to him, he wouldn't feel depressed. Instead, he wanted to have another exchange of blows. Chen Yiguang walked over to the member who was wiping his tears, patting his shoulders. We'll try again next year. Trust me, the Galactic will be stronger next year. MMH. A team with the same beliefs. They would definitely become stronger. The youngster retracted her gaze from Chen Yiguang. The moment she lowered her head, she saw Princess looking at her with narrowed eyes. Bo Jiu arched a brow, suppressing him with her hands. Princess exploded into a ball. You rascal, when Master comes back, I'll definitely get him to replace you. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you look good. If you give me another candy, I can consider tolerating you. Humph. Without a doubt, the MVP of this match was Bo Jiu. 9 kills, 0 deaths, and 5 assists. In a situation where each member of the opposing team could only die 3 times. This kind of battle record was enough to make anyone's face bleed. Someone guessed, Spade Z must have switched back to his best assassin for the next match. However, the next day, the youngster chose to be a long-range shooter during the team battle. Marksman? Not a mage, not an assassin, but an archer? What kind of joke was this? However, it turned out that he wasn't joking. Even though he was playing as an archer, the young man still won the MVP of that match. Just like that, Bo Jiu played through all 3 characters. Finally, someone couldn't help but ask, Spade Z, don't tell us that you can play any character. The young man hugged the cat, his hands in his trouser pockets, and with a lollipop in his mouth. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said, I am. After listening to the interview, the Professional Alliance's chat group exploded. One had to know that the group consisted of all the gods in the esports circle, and they wouldn't easily explode. But today was different. Holy sh*T, what's going on? Another all-rounder? Qin Mo's nemesis, come out, let's have a good chat. Why is your little spade so all-rounder? Chapter 654. The Professional Alliance was messing around in the WeChat group. After all, after 7 consecutive days of competition, everyone wanted to relax. But what they didn't expect was, Qin Mo really came out. Just one word, calm and composed. This made the members of the various battle teams rub their eyes hard. Chen Yiguang asked, Am I seeing things? Is Qin Mo here? No, Yiguang, you aren't seeing things. A certain someone is really here. It was the top assassin in the country, Lin Chintao. Of course, the members of Xiangnan were also in the group, all of them top-notch players. Is Spade Z really an all-rounder? Chen Yiguang asked. Lin Chintao replied, I remember he has always been an assassin since his hand speed is the most suitable. Is Spade Z in the group? Xiangnan's vice-captain, Zhao Sanpang, was a chatterbox. Ask him. Someone glanced at the sky. How is that possible? Have you forgotten how old the people in the group are? He's just a high school student. Hey, I'm not old. Chen Yiguang replied, I'm only 20, it's the prime of a man's life. Lin Chintao smirked. I'm 18, I'm forever 18. North of Een Mountain. Uncle Een, get Qin Mo's nemesis to drag his little spade in. Zhao Sanpang was really fat and his greatest wish was to destroy Qin Mo. Qin Mo's deep eyes stared at the chat box in the group. He sat on the bed, his slender fingers moving, pulling the poker profile picture into the chat. Bo Jio hadn't seen the person who had invited her, hence, she had left the group. After that, Bo Jio realized who had sent it. She opened the chat window. Qin Mo arched a brow, pulling her for the second time. This time, she wasn't going to leave. But she wasn't going to enter. The moment she entered, she realized the usernames in the group were extremely familiar. They were all people she would be facing in the future, and they were all godly players. Back when Feng Yi had been explaining, she had seen their information many times. If those fangirls knew that these esports gods were in the same WeChat group, they would probably go crazy. Zhao Sanpang. Hi, little spade. Let me introduce myself. I'm the face of this group, handsome Zhao. Lin Chen Tao. Add 2 words in front of looks, negative number. Zhao Sanpang. Lin, I'm angry. Let's fight. Come on, let's 2v1. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Zhao Sanpang replied. You're just bullying with numbers. Look at little spade. It's always a 1v2. We're both assassins, but why is there such a huge difference? Come, little spade, newbie, report your measurements and sexual orientation. Bo Jio cleverly avoided these 2 questions and typed with a smile. Handsome brother Zhao gave himself that title? 66666. Self-sealing is the main point, no explanation needed. Spectating forcefully. The others also came. In an instant, many people appeared. Chen Yiguang said, So you guys are here. Little brother Yiguang, big sister will tell you. Big sister cut my nails, especially for you, and dyed them rose red. The next time I kill you, my attack power will increase by a notch. Be careful, my baby. The person who spoke was Xiangnan's sorcerer, Luo Luojiang. She was indeed beautiful, but her fighting style was savage and she specifically targeted Chen Yiguang. Chapter 655. Zhao Sanpang didn't care about the others and sent a serious emoji. I didn't expect that I would be so famous. You've heard of Little Spade before you joined the group, right? Are you treating me as the greatest opponent in your life the moment you see me? One of Qin Mo's hands hung down, the other holding the business tablet. He was just about to type something. A line of words appeared on the screen. Spade Z, I already have my biggest rival, my captain. Zhao Sanpang. You have good foresight. You have the same goal as me. Spade Z, Xiangnan's captain Xiao. Leave the group and train. Zhao Sanpang, who was caught by his boss, immediately pretended to go offline. Goodbye, little spade from Qin Mo's family. Let's discuss how to defeat him in the future. Bo Jio nodded. Little spade from Qin Mo's family. Bo Jio didn't reply. Instead, she took a screenshot and sent it to Qin Mo. This isn't the Xiangnan I imagined. Qin Mo glanced at the photo, his voice faint. Most of the people in Xiangnan are still normal. There has to be an exception. In other words, Zhao Sanpang wasn't normal. The Almighty's venomous tongue was as sharp as ever. Bo Jio tapped open the long message on WeChat. After listening to the pleasant male voice, she pondered for a moment before sending a video chat over. Qin Mo, who was wearing a hospital gown, raised his eyebrows and agreed. A fat cat playing happily with a ball of yarn suddenly appeared on the screen. Then, the handsome face of the young man appeared. The princess seems to be very interested in things like balls of string. It is indeed the nature of cats. The chubby white cat seemed to have heard someone calling its name. It jumped over and saw its owner's face appear on the young man's phone. It immediately stretched out its neck and called out, Master, it's this fellow who uses me as a hand warmer every day. But don't worry, this fellow can't do anything to me for the time being, let alone shave my fur. I'm still the world's most handsome meow. Bo Jio pressed down on the cat's paw to stop it from touching the phone. On the other end of the video call, Qin Mo looked at the man and the cat and said slowly, It seems like you guys are getting along well. Bo Jio and Princess tilted their heads at the same time. Not bad. If it was a small fight every day and a big fight every 3 days, it would be a good way to get along. In that case, they could indeed be considered pretty good. Is the Almighty sure he's not being sarcastic? Bo Jio glanced at the handsome man on the screen. Even though he was wearing a hospital gown, He was still mesmerizingly handsome. It seemed like the Almighty wanted to be taken home and raised. He decided to find a place to prop up his phone so that he could see it more clearly. What he didn't know was that when he moved, the phone's camera moved down and just happened to shine on the half of his calf that was exposed. Qin Mo's fingers paused, and his deep eyes darkened. He did not remind the young man to raise the camera. Instead, he just watched without shifting his gaze. Because even if he closed his eyes, that scene would still remain in his mind. White, smooth, and clean to the point that there was only fluff left. Very few boys would be like this. But it wasn't like there weren't any. Moreover, that guy was already late in puberty. He wasn't very tall either. Even that place was probably very clean. You still want to compare size with me? Qin Mo lifted the corner of his lips. He would give the youngster a chance to compete with him. Chapter 656. Alright, that's a good image. Bo Jiao moved the chair, her legs apart as she watched the man in the hospital gown. Brother Mo, you are really handsome. Qin Mo wanted to say something. But just then, a notification came from the Alliance chat. Lin Chintao, F*CK, I just went to the Japanese server and they're causing a ruckus. Who wants to join me? Wuli Tao Tao, you're being naughty again. Why aren't you training properly? Luo Jiang sent a nail-blowing emoji. Lin Chintao, the people on the Japanese server were just saying on the World Channel that all Chinese girls who play online games are either dinosaurs or fat chicks. Luo Jiang had been smiling a second ago, but the next, she sent a message. Tell me where he is. I'm going to destroy him. Lin Chintao, join the Japanese server, let's go together, their team is still around. Japanese server? You guys are playing together again? Count me in. Lin Feng popped up. Lin Chintao sent a shoulder-slapping emoji. Look at me. I'm an assassin and so are you. We aren't compatible. You're Yun who can go. Alright, wait. I'll bring Dehu over. Even if he couldn't go personally, he could watch from the side. We have the support. We're lacking a tank. Where's the tank? Hurry. Luo Jiang shouted. This team is indeed arrogant. Their results aren't bad, they haven't lost yet. Chen Yiguang, the tank isn't around, it's game over. His name is Qin Mo. Luo Jiang replied. He can be a tank too. Lin Chintao, don't you have his WeChat? We've never chatted before. Besides, are you dumb? I confessed to him in the past but he rejected me. Is it appropriate to speak to him alone? Luo Jiang placed her hands on her hips. I have my pride. Lin Chintao. That won't do, I can't find him. Little Spade probably knows how to use a tank too, Lin Feng said. Luo Jiang replied immediately. If it's Little Spade, it doesn't matter how many times I get rejected. Leave the invitation to me. Lin Chintao. You sound like you're taking advantage of the situation. Shut up. I'm going to invite my Little Spade. Luo Jiang was in a good mood. However, there was one person whose mood couldn't be so beautiful. Qin Mo frowned as he looked at the chat history. My Little Spade? It seemed like he had really underestimated someone's ability to seduce. Luo Jiang was a straightforward girl. Under normal circumstances, a girl who was good at gaming would be decisive in her actions. Little Spade, aren't you bored after a day of rest? We're opening the Black Japanese server, and we're lacking a tank. Can you play as a tank? Bo Jiao didn't have time to look at the group chat. When she saw this sentence, she typed a sentence beautifully. I can play. Which server is it on the Japanese server? I'm going in. As expected, this youth was different from the others. Luo Jiang glanced at the empty chat, the corners of her lips lifting. This was how gaming should be. Thus, after 2 or 3 sentences, a team that could not possibly be connected was formed. All 5 of them were in different teams. But they were close to the strongest team in the country. Every single one of them was a god in the eyes of the fangirls. If the fans were to find out, they would definitely go crazy. But the managers were different. They would definitely be scratching their heads if they found out. As if the National League wasn't stressful enough, they had to add a meal? but they had to consider the upcoming competition. Chapter 657. But as esports players, they didn't think that way. In any case, there was only one sentence. As long as I'm satisfied. After all, the other party was indeed arrogant. In reality, there would be some exclusivity in different servers. But this time, it was obvious that they were targeting China. China's esports has just started. Some Chinese players shouldn't embarrass themselves. Be careful not to get killed. Seeing this, the 5 of them immediately formed a team. The person on the other side was still laughing. Seems like there really are people who aren't afraid of death. Let's fulfill their wish. After he finished speaking, with a click, the door was pushed open. Someone walked in from outside. The slender figure seemed to have just woken up. He was still wearing home clothes, and his entire person exuded a kind of laziness and cleanliness. If it wasn't Hoshino, who else could it be? What's so funny? The person sitting beside the computer looked up. Vice Captain, come over and take a look. Someone actually dares to challenge us. Don't they know that our reserve team is strong? You're causing trouble in the Japanese server again. As Hoshino spoke, he picked up the magazine on the coffee table. Be careful not to kick a metal board. Some Chinese players aren't easy to deal with. I can't tell. The person was still laughing. One of them was killed many times by us just now. He was indignant and called for reinforcements. Even though he died because of his teammates, it's impossible for them to win against the Japanese's second main force with just a new batch of teammates. Vice Captain, I'm going to talk to you. The game is starting. It's time to torture. Whoosh! The music blared. Even though Hoshino was sitting on the sofa, he could hear the sounds of fighting. However, it didn't affect his reading of the magazine. There had been no traces of Z recently. Hoshino knew that she had erased all traces. However, it was fine as long as she was fine. Hoshino raised his hand, switching to another magazine. He propped his chin on one hand, sitting there. The person in front of the computer kept moving the mouse. Was it an illusion? Why did it feel like time was passing so slowly this time? But it didn't matter. Since the people over there liked to waste time, then he would slowly waste time with them. Are you here to catch me? The man looked at the screen and smirked. I'm not that easy to catch. As the archer with low HP ran into the defense tower, Lin Chintao muttered to Yunhu, D*minute he escaped. In the wilderness, a tank activated his sprinting skill. Like a gust of wind, he swept across the grass, jumped up, and crouched forward. Ka! The member of the Japanese team sitting in front of the computer was stunned. He really didn't expect that someone would leap over the tower and take his life. Did that tank think he was an assassin? How dare he cross the tower from so far away? In fact, it wasn't just his opponents who reacted this way. Even Lin Chintao was dumbfounded. Why do I feel like I'm an extra assassin? Is this how a tank is supposed to be used? Shouldn't the tank be at the front? Oh, sorry, my hands were itching. Bo Jiao adjusted her earpiece. I'm going to be serious this time. Lin Chintao. Chapter 658. Let's go. As the young man spoke, his fingers quickly manipulated the game character on the screen. She was treating the tank as an assassin. Lin Chintao followed beside the youngster. As a tank, wasn't she running a little too fast? Bo Jiao didn't think she was fast, but she had to catch someone. Even if she didn't have a big move, she could still be a tank. Of course, at this moment, she had to have a good teammate. As one of the top assassins in the country, Lin Chintao immediately understood the youngster's tactics. He swept forward, unleashing a big blow. The moment the youngster's HP dropped, his HP would automatically recover. With Bo Jiao's support, he struck back with his spear. K0. Beautiful coordination. It hadn't even been 2 minutes and the beasts in the wilderness weren't all gone. Bo Jiao and her team had already killed 2 players. Through the screen, Qin Mo could see the youngster's smooth maneuvers. Lin Chintao's assassin and Bo Jiao's tank were playing beautifully. When the 5 of them were in the middle lane, they were unstoppable. That was unstoppable. They led the troops to the defense tower. The archer was still thinking that he wouldn't be able to do much with full HP. What he didn't expect was that he would be stunned first. Then came the tank's big move. The tank retreated. It was the assassin's big move. The assassin had low HP and could run fast. Even if he was hit by the tower, he wouldn't lose much HP. Fortunately, he was able to move and wanted to rush back to the city. Just then, the archer leaped over. He wasn't the only one dead. Even the defense tower in the middle lane was destroyed. Beautiful! As a sorcerer, Luo Jiang didn't forget to heal her teammates. Every step of her maneuvers perfect. Which meant that they had recovered all the HP they had lost. It wasn't a problem for the 5 of them to cross the tower and kill someone. The person in front of the computer threw his headphones. Clang! Are you kidding me? What's wrong with them? How did they become so strong all of a sudden? Weren't they afraid of being killed by the tower if the 5 of them crossed it one by one? F***CK, fight them one-on-one. Hearing his words, Hoshino, who was sitting on the sofa with a magazine in his hand, glanced at him and raised his eyebrows. You're dead. I've already died twice. That person gritted his teeth. The opponent is too cunning. First, the archer stunned me. Then the tank used an ultimate skill. Then the mage controlled me. I couldn't even move. I just stood there under the tower and was instantly killed. Hoshino's interest was piqued when he heard that. Looks like he's not bad. Cunning, too cunning. Especially the opponent's meat shield. Tell me, why would a meat shield run so fast? That person held his teacup in his mouth. Shouldn't the tank be in front and die for the people behind? I did hit him, but it was just a little bit. I didn't do any real damage to him. He didn't die even once along the way. How can he be called a tank? The so-called meat shield was indeed a shield in front of everyone, so they should be prepared to die. After all, apart from an ultimate skill, a tank's attack power was very low when fighting against an opponent. But even so, under the young man's control, he even got 1 kill, 0 deaths, and 5 assists. We only lost 8 people in total, and 6 of them are related to him. Chapter 659. F***CK. Our last defense tower in the middle lane can't hold on much longer. Is he really from China? As he spoke, he turned to Hoshino. Vice Captain, come over and help me, we can't lose. Hoshino didn't reject him. As a fellow gamer, he wanted to see who had such good control. What character are you playing? That person hurriedly replied, Sorcerer, your forte is team control. Pass me the mouse. Hoshino turned and sat in front of the computer, the left side of his face glowing softly. When he received it, his character had just left the city. His slender fingers typed a line of words, everyone in the group. It meant that all members were to defend the middle lane. Upon hearing the call, the members of this team had all gathered into a single line. That person stood beside Hoshino, looking at the screen, extremely agitated. Vice Captain, hurry. Attack them. Attack them. Don't go out of the tower, Hoshino ordered in Japanese. The team was about to explode. Why does it sound like Hoshino's voice? It sounds like it too. It doesn't sound like it, it's Vice Captain's voice. Hoshino. Hoshino, look over here. These esports players turned into fans at any moment. It was all because that person was Hoshino. In the Japanese team, they were split into the main force and the reserve force. Currently, among those who were casually playing online and shouting that they wanted to abuse others, 3 of them were reserve troops and 2 of them were the main forces. Moreover, they were the weaker ones among the main forces. Now that Hoshino was here, what did that mean? A world-class player. This time, we'll torture them like dogs. One word, kill. Hoshino smiled faintly. Don't move, we'll die if we go out, they aren't weak. Just not weak. They didn't care. We weren't serious just now and didn't have a team. Now, it's time for us to show our true strength. That tank doesn't know how to do anything other than sneak past the tower. This time, we'll focus on him. Their words rang in their ears. Hoshino moved the mouse forward, his voice magnetic. I control, tank block in front. Remember to only block, don't leave the tower.
Yes. The meat shield took a step forward and saw that the 5 of them had brought their troops over.
They're courting death. Get ready.
No problem.
Everyone was very excited. They used their ultimate skills to grab the opponent's meat shield. Bo Jiao ran at the front of the team, showing no signs of slowing down.
Hoshino saw that they were close enough and ordered, "Archer, stun him."
A ranged stun. He had clearly aimed it. However, he watched as his opponent moved beautifully, successfully avoiding the stun skill. He fainted and fell to the back. Holy shit. Little Spade, tell us when you're dodging a big move.
Lin Chintao. Haha, I dodged.
Luo Jiang, dodged +1. Yun Hu. Needless to say, Yun Hu dodged. I swear, I'll never play this kind of high-end game with you guys again. Lin Chintao replied, if you don't have our strength, how can you show your weakness? F***CK, if I don't take revenge for being stunned, I'll write the word king upside down. Since he still had the time to chat, she knew the backline was safe. Since there weren't any assassins at the back, she decided to wait. Chapter 660. Such an agile tank? Are you kidding me? The Japanese team's archer shouted. Seeing this scene, Hoshino narrowed his eyes. He immediately realized that his teammate's death was not as coincidental as he said. The tank's hand speed and movement were so fast that he had to be wary of it. Hoshino pressed down on his earpiece. Assassin. Here, someone replied. Hoshino lowered his arm, but his voice didn't stop. Go invisible and attack the enemy's backline. No problem. The assassin activated his ultimate and went invisible. This meant that he couldn't be seen on screen. Attack. Then, Hoshino gave the second order. Logically speaking, they had a high chance of winning in a team battle like this. After all, the opponent's tank only had half of his HP left, not full. The archer had also lost some HP from the stun. Only the assassin cut off the backline while they attacked from the front. Even if they didn't get wiped out, at least 4 of them would die. But the enemy didn't know that. The instant the assassin went invisible, the youngster sensed that the enemy was about to move. The young man immediately sensed that the enemy was about to make a move and said, "Retreat, save the shooter." Everyone was on high alert. The Japanese assassin didn't expect that he hadn't appeared yet. The archer in front of him turned around and cast a stun spell at him. In that instant, not only did his invisibility disappear, he was also frozen in place. Not only did he fail to kill the archer, he was also killed by the archer and support. It happened in the blink of an eye. The Japanese had already rushed out of the tower. The crouching ultimate was clearly meant to kill the tank. He didn't expect the ultimate to be used. The assassin dodged to the left. He activated sprint and didn't get hit at all. Instead, he used the grass by the side of the road to dodge. Then, his figure flashed again. He blocked his path. Most importantly, the enemy's sorcerer was very calculative. With a click of his mouse, he healed and recovered his HP. F***CK, you didn't heal before but now you're healing, the tank shouted. He finally had more HP than the enemy, but now it was almost even. Hoshino lowered his gaze. As he fought, he replied, it wasn't worth it to heal them just now. Now that their archer is at full HP, it's worth it to heal them together with the tank. Healing skills took a long time to recover. Healing 2 people at once was naturally more cost-effective than healing 1 person. Instead of healing him earlier, he chose to heal him now. That only meant one thing. Not only was the opponent a tank, but even the mage was not easy to deal with. Thinking of this, Hoshino suddenly paused. Something's wrong. Turn back. However, people didn't react immediately when he said that. This was especially true for the long-range shooters at the back of the team. He wanted to go back. However, the white-clothed assassin suddenly appeared at the back and used a powerful skill to slow him down. Not only did he lose half of his HP, he couldn't even walk. The assassin had no intention of running. Even if he entered the tower with low HP, it was not over yet. With a thrust of his spear,
He jumped out.
Ka. It only took a few seconds. When the Japanese team's tank and support saw that the assassin only had 1 HP left, they wanted to kill him, forgetting about Hoshino's order for them to retreat. Don't go! Chapter 661. On the screen, the 2 Japanese players who had entered the wilderness were attacked by Bo Jio and her team. Why bother killing the assassin? They couldn't catch up. Assassins were known for their speed. Even with a bit of HP left, the experienced Lin Chintao wasn't afraid. He met up with his team and ran back to the city to heal. As for the 2 players behind him, they were foolish. They didn't know that assassins could be used as bait besides killing. Of course, he wasn't the one who had said such shameless words. He was only doing this because of Little Spade's orders. That was why Little Spade was such a cunning person. In the future, he would definitely tell the newbies to be careful when they met Little Spade as an assassin. Especially when he ran far away, they shouldn't chase after him. It was highly possible that he had purposely appeared for them to see so that they could chase after him. It was so that they could chase after him until he met up with his team. Then he would turn around and kill them. Needless to say, such shamelessness suited his taste. Lin Chintao laughed as he returned to the city. His voice was devilish, causing Luo Luojiang to fall off her chair. But even so, the valiant Luo Luojiang didn't forget to move to kill. A single fireball would cause the 2 players to lose HP and faint. At this moment, the archer wouldn't have to use a big move to kill one of them. However, he did not expect the opponent's mage to release a rain spell at this time. F***CK. I'm going to die. He thought he was dead. Unexpectedly, the tank controlled by the youngster beside him crouched forward. It wasn't the dying player, it was the enemy sorcerer. This squat was simply perfect and beautiful. The rain spell was interrupted instantly. He shot an arrow over and the dying player died. At this moment, Luo Luojiang used another big move. The tank, who had wanted to kill the archer, retreated instantly. He was left with low HP. If he hadn't sprinted, he would have died as well. The enemy sorcerer was left with the most HP and his maneuvers were impressive. If he hadn't come out, even that meat shield would have been killed by them. However, the outcome of this team battle was already very obvious. 3 of the Japanese had died but none of them died. Lin Chintao, the assassin, had returned with full HP. This meant that they could continue to kill the last person under the defense tower. But in the next second, Lin Chintao paused. He looked at the person on the screen who had taken a step back and raised his eyebrows. How did this mage suddenly become so smart? Indeed, I was almost drenched to death by him just now. His calculations were really good. He was sure he could trap all of us before he used his big move. The 4 of us lost HP rapidly in his rain spell. If it wasn't for Little Spade, he would have killed 2 of us and crippled 1. Fortunately, Little Spade cut off his rain spell. The young man smiled, not at all modest. I've played this mage before, I know its weakness. You're amazing, aren't you? Lin Chintao wanted to grab the mouse pad. The youngster whispered, pay attention to the opponent's freezing skills. This time we won't kill him. Don't get close to him and attack the tower first. Lin Chintao narrowed his eyes. No, he wasn't that strong just now. Chapter 662. I think so. Luo Luojiang chimed in. Besides, his positioning and calculations are extremely precise. Honestly, I suspect he's better at sorcerer than me. But this time, I managed to gain some kills because I developed better than him. If we had faced each other at the start, I wouldn't have been able to defeat him. Lin Chintao raised an eyebrow. Better than what you can use as a sorcerer? How is that possible? Sister Luo Luo, you're the top sorcerer in China. Only the top players in the world would be better than you, but the top players wouldn't play such games. Luo Luojiang lifted her lips. It does sound unbelievable, but Chintao, don't forget, this is the Japanese server. You're saying that there's a high chance that we'll meet the host team, Japan? The #1 team in Asia? Luo Luojiang narrowed her eyes. It shouldn't be the official team, they aren't that weak. They aren't bad. Don't forget what kind of formation the 5 of us have. Regardless of which team's reserve team in the country, they would probably be defeated by us in less than 5 minutes. Yet, they managed to hold on for such a long time. This might be the difference between China and Tokyo's esports. In terms of nurturing new esports players, China is still lacking. Lin Chintao paused for a moment before replying, "Before you guys arrived, these reserve troops already killed me. How strong do you think the official Japanese team is?" "I don't know." The archer noticed the problem. Yunhu's voice was deep. "You have to ask Luo Luo. She's the only one who has fought against the Japanese." Luo Luo Jiang was silent for 2 seconds before replying, "I've never been beaten so badly." Her words caused everyone to pause, except for Bo Jiao. Luo Luo Jiang wasn't afraid to talk about her past. Every member of the Japanese are like the top almighties in the country. Their captain and vice-captain are both world-class players. There isn't anyone in the country with such a title. Even Qin Mo was disqualified because of his absence. That's why I can't tell you how strong the Japanese are. I don't wish to meet them. Haven't we already? The young man touched his bangs, his side profile handsome and evil. I say, brothers, are you done chatting? Standing here waiting for people to revive and start a new round of scheming. I'm so handsome, but I also get tired. Meow. Princess appeared in the camera. Only then did everyone laugh and regain their previous liveliness.
After the party was formed, the middle road was unobstructed, and they reached the other side of the city.
The enemy wizard is here. Lin Chintao didn't know why, but when he saw the mage standing there, he felt a sense of apprehension. It was probably because he had been frozen by the mage and lost more than half of his HP. Now, he felt that the mage was too dangerous. Moreover, the other party's rain array was so powerful that it was hard to deal with it. If he's really stronger than you, I'm saying if. Lin Chintao said as he hid. Sister Luo Luo, who do you think he is? Chapter 663. Kacha. The moment she heard the name, Bo Jiao's screen went black. It wasn't just her, even Qin Mo, who was on the other end of the video call, heard Hoshino's name. The youngster's fingers paused in that instant. It was so obvious that Qin Mo's hand paused as well. But very quickly, the youngster turned to the left. The coldness in Qin Mo's eyes dissipated. On the other end, Bo Jiao tilted her head. Princess's cat face was raised up proudly, with a white plug in her mouth. She was showing off her prowess.
He had an expression that said, "This is the king's territory, you foolish humans submit."
Bo Jiao arched a brow. It wasn't practical to plug in the power and log in at this moment. On the other end, Qin Mo was still watching. He watched as the youngster placed her arm behind her back and signed the contract. Then he asked coldly, "Why? Not playing anymore?" Bo Jiao picked up her phone, glancing towards the direction of Princess, who was walking like a cat. The power is in someone's mouth. Qin Mo took a moment before commenting, "Ever since he started following you, he has become more mischievous." Bo Jiao stood up. "Brother Mo, be honest, isn't he more picky? When he's with you, he's always lying down and allowing you to touch him. But when he's with me, he's a little tsundere." Qin Mo replied faintly, "It has to do with his aura." "What aura?" Bo Jiao took a sip of water, leaning against the bookshelf. Qin Mo closed the proposal in his hands, passing it to assistant Zhang before replying slowly, "Offensive aura." Bo Jiao. The WeChat group is ringing. Before the youngster could react, Qin Mo swiped open his tablet. "They are all looking for you." That was when Bo Jiao realized that the power outage was a trap within a trap in the game. She walked over with a cup of water and opened the WeChat group. A string of little spade popped up. Lin Chintao had sent 3 messages in one go. F***CK. Little spade, what's going on? Did you disconnect? How could you disconnect at such a crucial moment? Without little spade blocking in front of me, it doesn't feel safe. I've never missed you so much. Little spade. Of course, other than Lin Chintao, there were other members. However, everyone was more reserved. Everyone sent 6 little dots in the group. Bo Jiu caressed her nose and started to type. Sorry, the power is cut. The power is cut. Lin Qintao's expression said, don't joke around, or I'll scam you too. Bo Jiu decided to take a photo of Princess, who was still in the midst of posing, and sent it to the group. Lin Qintao asked, wait, what's wrong with the cat? Why does it have to be concave? Have you ever considered the feelings of us gamers? He obviously hasn't considered it, Bo Jiu replied. Lin Qintao didn't speak for 10 seconds before sending a crying emoji. Someone's interest was piqued.
Little brother Tao, were you tortured to tears again?
No, I won, Lin Qintao said confidently. Lin Feng was embarrassed. Then why are you still crying? He died the most times.
Yun Hu was calm.
It's indeed Lin Qintao's style, said Lin Feng.
Coco. Agreed. Chen Yiguang. Agreed. Zhao Sanpang. Agreed.
Lin Qintao shouted, shut up, you peeping bastard. Chapter 664.
Lin Qintao. I will never forgive him. Zhao Sanpang. Oh, I can't hit him.
Xiangnan Xiao appeared, asking calmly, where's practice? In an instant, Zhao Sanpang turned invisible again. Lin Qintao laughed heartily. Luo Luojiang came out. I just asked him. Lin Qintao. Luo Luojiang sent a bandit emoticon.
It's indeed Hoshino.
This time the youngster didn't pause, even asking naturally, how did you know? Luo Luojiang chuckled lightly as she sent a voice message, acting like a mature lady. When I asked, he didn't reply. Under normal circumstances, if you ask someone that, they would definitely say, how is that possible? But he didn't even bother replying.
Spade Z. Proof to the contrary.
World's most handsome fatty. F***CK, why didn't you tell me Hoshino was here? Lin Qintao. He. Is it good for the name above to be so fake? Zhao Sanpang. World's most handsome fatty. Who's Zhao Sanpang? I've never heard of him. Lin Qintao. Keep acting. World's most handsome fatty. Don't mind the details, let's talk about Hoshino. Xiangnan Xiao. Let's talk about your practice, final warning. This time, Zhao Sanpang really went offline. But the Professional Alliance's chat group was in a frenzy because of Hoshino's name. Someone asked, is it really him? Luo Luojiang. Their fighting style is similar. How's his skill? Luo Luojiang. After Little Spade went offline, he went for a 1v3. He died and so did the three of us. Amazing. After these words were spoken, there was a period of silence. Luo Luojiang, Yun Hu, and Lin Qintao were all top players in the country. Even with the three of them working together, they could only fight Hoshino to a draw. The gap was so obvious that it was hard to ignore it. Just Hoshino alone was enough to make things difficult for them. Just how strong was the Japanese team? Everyone's heart was stretched taut like a string. Chen Yiguang was the first to speak. After the National League, there will be another match against the Japanese. I wonder why they said it this way. It was proposed by Tokyo. Luo Luojiang's voice deepened. They said that the Japanese are currently on a world tour. After the Korean side, it will be our turn. They hope that we can work together and they won't be sending out their strongest team. They specially emphasize that it's just a cultural exchange in esports. Lin Qintao raised his eyebrows. Cultural exchange, he. Do your best to win, no matter who will fight in the future. Mate. Lin Qintao laughed. I'm going downstairs to train. Little Spade. See you in the semi-finals. See you in the semi-finals. The moment she exited the WeChat page, she heard a voice beside her ear. You seem to care a lot about Hoshino. That voice had a magnetic quality to it, and it was calm and steady. Bo Jiu glanced up and saw the Almighty looking at her through the video call. His brows were deep and his eyes were extremely dark, giving off the vibe of a devil. Even though he was dressed in a pure white hospital gown, it didn't stop his natural oppressive aura and perceptive abilities. A little. Bo Jiu smiled sloppily. After all, he's an esports player that he likes. He's handsome and has good skills, so he would definitely care. Like. Chapter 665.
She hadn't expected the youngster to give such an answer.
Qin Mo's eyes dimmed. Bo Jiu didn't notice the change. Firstly, they were separated by a screen. Secondly, all her thoughts were on how to deal with the Almighty's next question. To her surprise, the Almighty didn't continue questioning her. That was good for her. But there was one thing. There were so many matches. Bo Jiu had a basic understanding of the competition. During the National League, the Japanese would be the guests. At that time, she and Hoshino might very well. You seem to like a lot of people.
The low voice beside her interrupted her thoughts once more.
Besides, it didn't seem like a compliment. I'm more universal. She couldn't afford to hurt someone with a dark history. Qin Mo's voice was calm. You're so universal that you've become a confessor. Amazing, wall-jumping scholar. Do you need me to create a name list for you to be remembered forever? MMH? Bo Jiu. Who would write their dark history into a register and leave their name in the annals of history? The Almighty was being sarcastic again. As they chatted, Bo Jiu realized that the Almighty's words were more lethal than words. In the end, he started to list the names, each one of the people she had confessed to. Bo Jiu promised, "That's all in the past." Am I on your list of people from the past? Qin Mo asked casually. Bo Jiu smiled devilishly. Brother Mo, don't worry, you'll always be in the present. Is that so? Qin Mo laughed, his voice carrying a hook. Since that's the case, do you want to turn gay for me? In that instant, Bo Jiu's heart skipped a beat. But she quickly regained her composure. The Almighty was getting better at flirting. She had almost fallen for it. Brother Mo, you can't make such a joke. Qin Mo watched as the youngster popped a lollipop into her mouth. Her dashing and arrogant expression made it seem as though she was treating his words as a joke. It was fine as a joke. Qin Mo realized a problem the moment he said it. It was best to say it face to face. If he didn't say it in person, no one could guarantee that a certain someone wouldn't run away in the middle of the night after knowing that he was serious. Qin Mo plugged in his earpiece and changed the topic. Were there any problems during the competition? Nothing at the moment. Bo Jiu didn't intend to tell the Almighty about what had happened that day, mainly because there wasn't a need. After the competition, she could get back at him if she was unhappy. Qin Mo glanced at Bo Jiu, noticing the redness in the youngster's eyes. He frowned. Get some eye drops. Again, Bo Jiu muttered. The Almighty was even stricter than he Hong Hua. Qin Mo placed the cup down and said, Go. It was indeed inconvenient for one person to apply eye drops. Hence, Bo Jiu could only keep one eye open and the other closed. It had to be said that the Almighty's voice was really nice. It had a kind of hypnotic magnetism. At the start, Bo Jiu could still hear his words, but gradually, her eyelids started to droop. Hence, Bo Jiu didn't know that after she had fallen asleep, Bo Jiu's expression changed. The person on the other end of the video call didn't forget to turn to look at her even during the meeting. That gaze was filled with pampering. Chapter 666. Fu Family's Villa. Bo Jiu wasn't sure how long she had slept for. Just as the sun was about to rise, she opened her eyes. Her fingers twitched, but the phone in her hands had already shut down due to the lack of battery. Even so, the phone was still warm. Was the Almighty still alive? Bo Jiu arched a brow as she thought of the possibility. He hugged the princess beside him and warmed her hands. She had to admit that the Almighty was despicable. He hadn't hung up the video call in order to drain her battery. She could do the same next time. This time she would sleep. It wasn't her style to sleep until 11 a.m. when there weren't any competitions or exams. But today, the internet had exploded because of a gaming video. The title was, I was watching a match on the Japanese server. I want to know which Almighty's alternate account is it. The post had over 1,000 replies. Amazing! This teamwork is so cool. OP, I'm impressed that you dare to play on the Japanese server. Little Bean Sack. Why does the sorcerer's technique seem so familiar? My goddess Luo Luojiang. It must be her.
She must be the one who can control the sorcerer so well.
I'm here to expose the assassin that died the most.
That's right, it's Lin Chin Tao. Is the support my almighty Yun?
Is the archer my dragon?
Even the loyal fans can recognize their almighty. Why isn't the tank recognized?
I'm not sure, but what exactly is going on? Different teams. Are they teaming up?
Don't you know? The adults have such a hobby, but it isn't common.
Could the tank be Zhao Sanpang?
No, my fatty isn't a fan of towers.
Honestly, the tank isn't played in such a manner. It isn't normal for him to treat himself as an assassin.
If he dies under the tower, he would be sending himself to death. Are you saying that the tank isn't good?
I don't think so.
But he isn't a scammer, he's the MVP.
Tank. MVP. Under normal circumstances, a tank wouldn't be the MVP.
It isn't strange for him to kill every single time. All in all, it's because of Goddess Luoluo and the others.
If not, he would have died easily.
Am I the only one who thinks that he's playing this way because he knows that Goddess Luoluo and the others are behind him?
Are you saying that this is his cooperation? My God, I'm getting more and more interested in this meat shield. Who is he? Are there any fans who claim it? Unfortunately, no matter how many times this post was covered, still, no one claimed this meat shield. The onlookers were really curious. After all, it was rare for a tank to play like this. Until the Supreme Alliance team battle that day. Spade Z used the meat shield. Wait a minute. My big spade isn't an archer anymore?
This is already the fourth one.
We still lack a support.
He really is an all-rounder.
I want to see how my big spade acts as a tank. In the end, he saw an incomparably familiar scene. He was supposed to be a meat shield, but he leaped into the tower to kill. He was clearly a meat shield, but he had set the tempo of the entire arena. He was supposed to be a tank, but he became the team controller and became the MVP. What was going on? Everyone was dumbfounded. A Spade fan said seriously, I think I can go to the Japanese server's battle video and claim Big Spade. What do you guys think? Chapter 667. As usual, there would be a mini interview after the competition. What's more, there was still one more match before they entered the semi-finals. This match was of utmost importance. It wasn't just the fans, even the media was concerned about Bo Jio's character. Is it time to use support next time? The interviewer asked with a smile. After all, he had already used the other methods. In front of the camera, the young man reached out and pulled the white cat back.
He said lazily, No need.
No need.
The host was stunned.
Why?
Because the Almighty didn't teach me how to play the support role before he left.
Hearing this, it was not just the host. Even the fox-like smile on Manager Feng's face froze. It wasn't easy for the beautiful MC to find her voice. You mean to say that the characters you play were all taught to you by Almighty Qin recently?
Bo Jio glanced up nonchalantly.
MMH, I found my own style as a tank, but I haven't gotten used to the sorcerer and archer. I'll practice more when I'm free.
The beautiful host. There was no way to continue the conversation. You're the MVP of every game, yet you still say you're not playing well. However, the others did not understand that the young man really did not play.
Bo Jio was best at being an assassin. He watched the video of the interview. The official Weibo exploded again. As a fan of the Mo and Jio couple, there's only one sentence left in my eyes. Because the Almighty didn't teach me how to play support before he left. Big Spade, don't cry, the Almighty will teach you when he comes back. Be good, pat my head. To be able to become an all-rounder in such a short period of time, I just want to say that he's super cool. Han Susu and Wu Zhan were also holding their phones. Han Susu couldn't help but reply, Hee hee, keep bragging. You can become an all-rounder after 10 days of practice. Spade Z, you're such a hypocrite. The Spade fans didn't respond to his words. Fan Qin said, Spade Z started off as an assassin, and being an assassin requires a high level of control and positioning. Plus, with Spade Z's hand speed, as long as he understands the other character's attributes and the usage of some big moves, along with Almighty Qin's all-round guidance, it won't be impossible for him to reach his current level.
I'll say this first, I'm a fan of Almighty Qin, and I won't pretend to be a passerby. Putting aside other questions, I'll just say one thing. Spade Z's recent matches have a slight change, and that's the geometric attack curve. What I, Almighty Qin, am best at. Flunkies can't understand how a genius can see the geometric attack curve when he's playing a game. Am I the only one who noticed this? This seems to be the first time I, Almighty Qin, personally taught someone, right? Don't say any more.
Dog food. Full of dog food.
Pa.
Han Susu slammed her phone. These CP fans are really crazy. What dog food? After saying this, she seemed to have noticed Wu Zhan's ugly expression. She turned around and held Wu Zhan's hand. Sister Wu, those people don't know of your existence. You and Brother Qin are a couple. What's the big deal about that gay?
Wu Zhan smiled and put down the coffee cup in her hand.
Why didn't you take revenge on him in the recent matches? That you're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.